You ever notice how some arguments just get under your skin? Like, you're standing there, and suddenly someone calls you out. Maybe questions what you believe, or who you are. Your heart rate spikes, your palms get sweaty, and you just can't let it go. You start talking faster, trying to come up with something in thee that'll shut them down, make you look strong, prove your point. But the more you talk, the worse it feels. Sure, maybe you win, but afterward, it's just kind of empty, almost embarrassing. It's weird sometimes. Winning feels like you just lost a piece of yourself. Here's what nobody tells you. Proving you're right doesn't always make you stronger. Sometimes it just makes you tired. Why does trying so hard to be right leave me feeling so wrong? Maybe real strength isn't about crushing the other side at all. Maybe it's about something quieter, something nobody taught us to value. Most of us grew up thinking that the loudest person wins. You know, the type, the one who always has a comeback, who never lets anything slide, who treats every conversation like it's a competition. Maybe that's even been you. I know I've been that person. We see it everywhere. At work, in group chats, family dinners, everyone trying to out-talk, outsmart, outshine. It's like we're all secretly afraid that being quiet means being weak. But here's the weird part nobody admits. The urge to win every argument almost never comes from real confidence. It comes from fear. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of being left out. Fear that maybe we're not enough. And the harder we try to prove ourselves, the more we get trapped in this endless loop, talking louder, fighting harder, but never actually feeling any stronger. So what if we've had it backwards this whole time? What if the real power isn't in the noise at all? But honestly, have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why do we even get into arguments? Most of the time, it's not about the facts. It's about something way more personal. Like, sometimes I catch myself arguing with someone, and halfway through, I realize I don't even care that much about the topic. It's just, it feels impossible to let it go. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's that weird fear of looking dumb in front of other people. Or maybe it's just wanting to be heard. For once, you know? And here's the part that always gets me. The second you react just because someone pushed your buttons, you're not in control, they are. It's like, the more I try to defend myself, the less sure I actually feel. If you really think about it, half our arguments aren't about what's being said at all. They're about trying to protect that little part of ourselves that hates being ignored or wrong or left out. And if that's true, what does it say about who's really in charge when we argue? So if most arguments aren't even about truth, but just us protecting our pride, what does real strength actually look like? Turns out, some of the sharpest minds in history saw things completely differently. Nietzsche, for one, had this idea called the will to power. But here's the twist. He didn't mean stomping on everyone else. He meant learning to control your own reactions, even when every part of you wants to explode. Think about it. Anyone can raise their voice, but it takes real guts to keep your cool when everything inside you is on fire. I've got this one friend. No matter how wild things get, he's just steady. He listens. He never snaps back. Never has to prove he's the smartest in the room. It's almost intimidating, honestly. And he always says, if someone can make you mad, they own you for free. That's when it hits me. Maybe the loudest person isn't the strongest. Maybe it's the one who doesn't need to say much at all. So, if that's true, can anybody learn this kind of self-control? Or is it just for people who are born different? So, what does it actually mean to stay in control? Like, what does that steady kind of strength really look like? Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are also the quietest. They don't jump into every argument. They don't rush to fill every pause. They lean back in their chair. They sip their coffee. They just let the moment breathe. And here's the thing, silence isn't weakness. It's a strategy. The longer they wait, the more the other person starts to squirm. Voices get louder. Explanations get longer. Mistakes slip out. All because the silence is making them uncomfortable. It's not about running from conflict. It's about controlling the pace, picking your moments, and never letting someone else push you into a move you didn't choose. Sometimes your quiet is the loudest thing in the room. And here's the part most people miss. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who says nothing at all. So next time things heat up, what happens if you just wait? If you give yourself that extra breath before you speak, you might find the real power was there all along. So if silence is a strategy, how do you actually use it? Because it's not just say nothing and hope for the best. It's about using quiet with intention. First, buy yourself time. The moment you feel that spike in your chest, that urge to snap back, pause. Breathe. Even a 2-second delay can stop you from saying something you'll regret. It also signals to the other person that you're not reacting on their terms. Second, make the silence work for you. Don't fidget. Don't look away like you're scared. Hold their gaze. Let them feel that you're still here, still listening, but you're not giving them exactly what they want. It's amazing how fast people start talking themselves into corners when you just wait. Third, speak last. When you finally do respond, keep it short, clear, and calm, because the contrast between their noise and your composure, that's where the power really is. Silence isn't doing nothing. It's choosing the moment that matters most. And the person who controls the moment controls the room. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a pointless fight, don't rush in. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. You'll be surprised how often it wins for you. We've talked about silence as a strategy, but let's see how it actually plays out in the real world. Because once you see it in action, you'll never look at an argument the same way again. First, the historical example. Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's undefeated samurai, won more than 60 duels. But he didn't win them all with speed or brute force. In one famous fight, he showed up hours late. His opponent was pacing, furious, practically shaking with rage. By the time the duel began, the man was already making mistakes. Musashi's command, his deliberate silence, had done most of the work before a single strike was made. That's the thing about silence. It doesn't just protect, it wears the other person down. Now, the modern example. Picture a tense boardroom meeting. Two executives are going at it. Voices getting louder, each one trying to dominate the room. At the end of the table sits someone who hasn't said a word. They're listening, maybe jotting a note or two, totally unshaken. Then, when the shouting dies down, they lean forward and speak one clear, decisive sentence. And suddenly, the room shifts. No one remembers the noise, only the moment the quiet voice took control. In both cases, the pattern is the same. Wait. Watch. Let the other side burn themselves out. Then choose your moment. Because the power isn't in how much you say, it's in how perfectly you time it. So the real question is, in your next conflict, are you going to rush into the noise or wait for the moment that everyone remembers? So why does silence work so well? It's not magic, it's psychology. When someone challenges you, they expect a reaction. If you give it instantly, you're playing their game. But if you don't react, if you let that pause stretch, something strange happens. The human brain hates a gap it can't fill. Psychologists call this a tension gap. The longer it hangs there, the more uncomfortable they get. That discomfort pushes them to talk more, explain more, reveal more, just to break the silence. It goes deeper. There's power perception. The less you speak, the higher your perceived status. Why? Because people assume you don't need to convince anyone, you already know where you stand. And when you finally speak, it carries weight. Then there's cognitive dissonance. When your reaction isn't what they expected, their brain scrambles to make sense of it. In that scramble, they start questioning themselves, sometimes more than they question you. Even high-stakes professionals use this. The Harvard Negotiation Project found that in deal-making, a well-timed 5 to 10-second pause after a question dramatically increases the information the other side gives up. FBI interrogators do the same. Silence breaks people down faster than shouting ever could. And you've seen it in daily life. In a work meeting, the quietest person often gets the final word and the most respect. In an argument with your partner, a pause can cool things down before words cut too deep. In a public debate, your stillness lets the other side expose their own weak spots. Here's the truth. When you master silence, you're not avoiding conflict. You're controlling it. You're setting the tempo. You decide when the conversation moves forward and when it stops. And the one who controls the tempo controls the outcome. So next time your heart races and you want to jump in, don't hold the silence. Let it work for you. You might be shocked at how often it wins the battle before it's even begun. By now, silence probably sounds like a superpower. And yeah, it can be. But here's the part no one tells you. Not all silence is power. Sometimes, silence can backfire badly. There's a difference between strategic silence and avoidance silence. Strategic silence is when you choose not to speak in order to steer the situation. Avoidance silence is when you shut down because you're scared, angry, or don't know what to say. One makes you look in control. The other makes you look like you've lost your voice. Think about it. In a relationship, going quiet after a fight can give both sides space to breathe. But if you disappear into days of cold silence, it stops being space. It becomes distance. And distance kills connection faster than words ever could. At work, staying silent in a meeting can make you seem thoughtful. But if you never speak up, people don't see wisdom. They see passivity. Worse, they might assume you have nothing to contribute. Psychologists even have a term for the darker side of silence: stonewalling. It's a form of emotional shutdown that tells the other person, "You don't matter enough for me to respond." Used often enough, it doesn't calm the storm, it builds a wall you can't climb back over. Here's the truth. Silence is only power when it's a choice, not a retreat. If you're using it to control the moment, it's strength. If you're using it to hide, it's weakness. So before you go quiet, ask yourself, am I staying silent to keep my power, or because I've already given it away? By now, you know silence can be a weapon. But like any weapon, it's dangerous if you don't know when to use it. So how do you tell if you should hold your tongue or speak up? Here's a simple check. Ask yourself 3 questions. Will speaking actually change the outcome? If the answer is no, it's just going to feed someone's ego or drag you into a dead end. Stay silent. You don't win chess by chasing every pawn. You win by protecting your king. Am I speaking from control or from impulse? If your heart's racing and your words are coming from a place of anger or fear, you're not in control yet. Breathe. Delay. The moment you control your emotions, you control the conversation. Is my silence building leverage or building walls? If it's buying you time, letting the other person reveal themselves, or making your eventual words hit harder, that's leverage. But if it's shutting the other person out and making trust harder to rebuild, that's a wall. Walls don't win battles. They just keep everyone stuck. In short, speak when your words will shift the game, defend a boundary, or reveal a truth. Stay silent when talking would give away your power, feed conflict, or cheapen your message. Remember, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes, the strongest statement you can make is to save your voice for when it matters most. By now, you've seen silence as a tactic, but the real magic happens when it stops being just a move you use and becomes part of who you are. Because here's the thing, people remember patterns. If you're always quick to jump in, always fighting to be heard, you train people to see you as reactive. But if you consistently speak with intention, if you choose your moments, you train them to see you as someone worth listening to. In leadership, this is called executive presence, the quiet authority that makes people lean in when you finally speak. It's not about talking less for the sake of it. It's about building a track record. When you speak, it matters. And here's the deeper shift. Silence stops being about them and starts being about you. It's self-respect. It's knowing you don't have to prove your value every second. It's trusting that your ideas don't need to be shouted to be true. Over time, this changes how people treat you. Colleagues stop interrupting. Friends listen longer. Even in conflict, your calm becomes the gravity that pulls others toward you. Your restraint becomes your reputation. And the best part? When you live this way, silence doesn't feel like holding back, it feels like standing tall. It's not avoidance. It's ownership. Because in the end, the goal isn't to win every conversation. The goal is to become the kind of person whose words, when they finally come, can change the whole room. Think about everything we've covered. We started in the heat of an argument, hearts racing, words flying, pride on the line. We peeled back the layers and saw that most of those fights weren't about truth at all. They were about ego, about fear, about the need to feel important. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Silence, we learned, isn't emptiness. It's a decision. It's the ability to step out of the emotional current and see the whole river from above. It's not about saying nothing forever. It's about choosing the right moment to say the thing that matters most. The philosophers knew it. Nietzsche called it the will to power, not brute force, but mastery of the self. The samurai knew it, winning the fight before the sword left the scabbard. Modern psychology confirms attention gaps, power perception, cognitive dissonance, all working in your favor the moment you stop reacting on someone else's terms. But here's the twistulence. Alone isn't the point, because silence without control is just avoidance. Silence without intention is just hiding. And hiding doesn't make you powerful, it makes you invisible. True power is when your silence is a choice, when you can stand in the storm and decide, not yet. When you can watch the bait dangle in front of you and think, that's not my fight. When you can save your voice for the words that will actually move the needle. And that's the paradox. The person who could speak but doesn't is far more powerful than the one who speaks because they must. Your voice is most valuable when you don't give it away for free. We've seen the tactics. Buy yourself time pause before you respond, even for 2 seconds. Make the silence work, hold eye contact. Keep your body still. Let them fill the gap. Speak last, when emotions have cooled and your words can actually land. We've seen the traps. Avoidance, silence that builds walls. Stonewalling that kills trust. We've seen the leverage points. When silence unsettles the opponent, when it earns you authority in the room, when it protects your energy for the battles that matter. But this isn't just about tactics. It's about the kind of person you become. The one who isn't tossed around by every wave. The one whose presence shifts the atmosphere before they've even said a word. The one who doesn't need to win every argument because they're playing a bigger game. And here's what's wild. When you live this way, you'll notice something. You argue less, not because you're afraid to fight, but because you don't need to. You speak less, but when you do, people stop and listen. You feel lighter because you're not carrying the weight of proving yourself to everyone all the time. This is what real control feels like. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's steady. It's deliberate. And it's magnetic. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone tries to drag you into a pointless fight, stop. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. Watch what happens. Notice how the balance of power shifts without you having to lift a finger. And when you finally choose to speak, let it be intentional. Let it be decisive. Let it be yours. Because in the end, this isn't just about winning arguments. It's about winning your life back from every little thing that tries to control you. It's about walking into any room, any conversation, and knowing you decide the terms, not them. It's about becoming the kind of person whose words are rare, but unforgettable. True strength isn't in the noise. It's in the pause before the words. And the one who owns that pause owns the room.